Call 1-888-FARMERS to switch, and you could save an average of $470 on your auto insurance. That's a lot of money in just a few minutes. With savings like that, you could be lounging on an impractical amount of ornate and overpriced throw pillows you bought for your couch. But you won't, because you're better with money than that. That's why you're calling us in the first place. Call 1-888-FARMERS to get a quote today.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Based on average nationwide annual savings survey data July to December 2020. Underwritten by Farmers Trucker Fire Insurance Exchanges or affiliate. Products not available in every state.
If you're looking for an SUV with style and substance, check out the award-winning lineup from Chevrolet. With the fun-to-drive Trax, the versatile Equinox, and more, there's a Chevy SUV with the comfort and capability you're looking for. Available now at your Southern Nevada Chevy dealer.
I often make reference to Woody Allen, whether you agree with him politically or not. And frankly, he was a supporter of President Trump, believe it or not. The fact is that he's a tremendous satirist. And there is a movie, his very first one, It Takes the Money and Run, where as a young boy, he plays a character named Fielding Mellish, who later turns to a life of crime. And he tries to explain why. And one of the reasons is that as a young boy, when the bullies would attack him, they would take his glasses off and step on them. And it got so bad that after a matter of time, he would, when he saw the bullies coming, take his own glasses off and step on them. In other words, harm himself. Well, this is the state of many in the so-called conservative movement today. In fact, most of these people are not really conservatives. They're simply profiteers, people like Matt Schlapp of Conservative Political Action Committee, who actually opposed Trump when he first decided to run for president in 2016. Sean Hannity the same way. He was against Trump. And they all gravitated to Trump only after it appeared he was going to win the nomination for the presidency in 2016 and then later won. You would call them opportunists. Newsmax, Christopher Ruddy, same thing. These people are not really conservatives. They're in it for money. They're in it for their own fame. They profess to be conservatives, but read about it in my new book, It Takes a Revolution, Forget the Scandal Industry. You can get it at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, all major booksellers. And for a contribution of $50 or more, which helps us do our vital work at Freedom Watch, you'll get it for free. You can go to freedomwatchusa.org. But despite that, there's a disturbing trend going on with these people and these individuals. Of course, Hannity's on Fox News. Newsmax, thinks that it's going to be the heir apparent to Fox News. It's not, because Christopher Ruddy swings with the wind. He gave $1 million to the Clinton Foundation. He's whoever seems to be the person to ride, as a horse. He's quite rotund, so I'm not sure he can sit in a horse and the horse wouldn't collapse. In fact, Newsmax will probably ultimately collapse with the hypocrisy and his two-faced position on things. CPAC, with regard to Matt Schlapp, he has a lobbying firm that collected $750,000. It was reported, suggesting that a client could get a pardon because of his close relationship with Trump. And then he fell on his face. But of course, according to reports, he pocketed the $750,000 anyway. This is what you're dealing with. And I want you to understand something here, is that what really is serious is that these so-called conservative websites, and there are more, and I'm not naming all of them here. Perhaps I'll get to that point someday, but they're censoring other conservatives, true conservatives, that really want to make a change in this country, that really see things for what they are. And what you see now is a concerted effort to kill any suggestion that what occurred on January 6th, and this is just one example, in Washington, D.C., was, in fact, not the result of domestic terrorists, not primarily the result of some criminals on both sides, whether it's Antifa on the left or others on the right, but mostly ordinary Americans who rose up, who saw the rank corruption in the three branches of government, who couldn't take it anymore, who listened to Hannity every night promising that justice is just around the corner, but yet there never is any justice for the political elite in Washington, D.C. and state capitals around the country, while their friends and colleagues and family do get held accountable. And this was a natural result as predicted by Thomas Jefferson, particularly since what triggered it in the end was the refusal of the federal judiciary, including Trump's own judges, as well as his appointed Supreme Court justices, to even address the issue of election fraud. They wouldn't even allow the case to go forward to discovery or to any kind of consideration as to whether it occurred. And the people rose up. And Jefferson said that was going to happen. And I write about it in my book, It Takes a Revolution. He said because federal judges in particular are unelected and unaccountable to the people, they would become despots and tyrants. And ultimately, that would cause the shed of blood of patriots and tyrants yet again about every 20 years. And he added, what's a few thousand dead to refresh the tree of liberty? He didn't want to see people hurt, neither do I. But I have sent forth a clarion call saying that unless we start to get justice, unless we revise, alter, or abolish our system of government and get a real system of government, we will likely head into a bloody revolution, as Jefferson predicted. I'm trying to head that off. And that's why you need to read my book, It Takes a Revolution, Forget the Scandal Industry, and read the Declaration of Independence. And you'll see our founding fathers didn't want to get into a bloody revolt. They tried to reason with King George III over and over again, but they couldn't. And they had no choice but to rise up and declare independence. And when the king declared war on the colonies, they had to fight back. And that's where we are today in this country. Larry Klayman does not advocate violence, but Larry Klayman sees it coming if, in fact, we can't arrest the rank corruption, the disgusting nature of our government today. Just yesterday, the so-called head of the FBI, Christopher Wray, blamed what happened on January 6th on domestic white terrorists. He's doing the party line. He wants to keep his job with Biden and Harris and the radical left. So he has to blame one group. The people that entered the Capitol primarily were not domestic terrorists or white supremacists. They were ordinary people, and they had had enough. But you can't say that now at various locations on conservative social media. They're doing the same thing that Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Apple are accused of doing. And it's not just cancel culture, it's censorship. And they're, in fact, falling on their own sword. That is, they're smashing their own glasses, taking them off and smashing them, because they're fearful of the government and they're fearful of blowback by sponsors and everybody else. So you cannot trust the conservative media anymore. You can't. Most of it is compromised. And I named just a few examples, and there's more than that. And my friend and colleague, Jason Goodman, who did nothing with regard to CPAC, who takes firm positions and tells it like it is on Crowdsource the Truth, was escorted off the grounds at CPAC the other day when he had a right to be there. He was invited by a speaker to be there by two armed security guards, two goons sent there by Matt Schlapp to remove him because Jason, is willing to discuss corruption in the conservative community as well as in any other community. And Jason is a conservative. So the bottom line is this: if we're going to have the moral and ethical authority to tell other people what to do and to enforce that, including our government, then we must also enforce it in our own ranks. And regrettably, there are many in the conservative community, in the media, who frankly have become whores, who bow down for money, for riches, because they're fearful of blowback. Well, our founding fathers were not fearful. They pledged their fortunes and their sacred honor and risked their lives and gave their lives to found a new nation. And we now need to rise up. We have to be fearless, and we have to do what needs to be done. And that's why we're going to have citizens' grand juries. We're going to seek the indictment of Biden, of his son Hunter, and his brother Frank on March 17th of this year or shortly thereafter. And we're going to hold a Third Continental Congress in Philadelphia Memorial Day. And we're going to talk about creating a new government by and for the people, with judges who are elected and accountable to the people, not put there through political campaign contributions and, frankly, bribes. And we're going to talk about coming up with an electoral system that is not based upon fraud, as occurred in the last election with these phony paper ballots. And we're going to talk about removing the deep state from the executive branch of government. And we're going to nominate a president with the stature and clarity of thought and class of a Ronald Reagan. So this is what we need to be talking about now, but many in the conservative media, they just want to jingle the change. And that's the story here. Our founding fathers risked their fortunes. They were all multimillionaires, even in that day. And they knew that freedom was necessary, that had to be preserved for themselves, their children, their grandchildren, and even future generations. And that's my message for today. Go to freedomwatchusa.org, read about what I'm talking about. Get my book, It Takes a Revolution, Forget the Scandal Industry. You'll see how we can wage a peaceful and legal revolution.
If you're looking for an SUV with style and substance, check out the award-winning lineup from Chevrolet. With the fun-to-drive Trax, the versatile Equinox, and more, there's a Chevy SUV with the comfort and capability you're looking for. Available now at your Southern Nevada Chevy dealer.
And not risk getting into a violent bloodbath, as we saw during the American Revolution and later the French Revolution. That's what I'm trying to head off. But it will happen unless we now rise up, unless you get up off the couch and you turn off Sean Hannity and Fox News, and you turn off Newsmax, and you turn off other conservative media, which is the equivalent of CPAC, and start following the facts and your conscience under God's grace, under the divine providence of God and his Son. So that's my message. God bless you. God bless your family. Stay safe. God bless America. But remember, God and his Son help those who help themselves. I'll be back tomorrow with another special podcast.
If you're looking for an SUV with style and substance, check out the award-winning lineup from Chevrolet. With the fun-to-drive Trax, the versatile Equinox, and more, there's a Chevy SUV with the comfort and capability you're looking for. Available now at your Southern Nevada Chevy dealer.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like Taylor Swift choosing what to wear.
It's looking kind of chilly out today. I think I'll go with a cardigan.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One N.A. member FDIC. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.